Boom, baby, we're live. Welcome to Tokyo Crypto Show, episode 173. Is August the final dip? Altcoin season. This is what we're going to talk about. We're going to review ETF data of Bitcoin and Ethereum and shows us how does this connect to price action. We're going to talk about the recent altcoin mini season that would happen, that had just recently happened, connected to Crypto Week in the United States of America. We're going to talk about the pump fund versus bonk fund meme wars. And we're going to show about 5 or 6 different low market cap coins that have done some crazy stuff. Troll, the meme coin, has done a 19x in about 12 days. 19x. So if you put $1,000 in at the end of those 12 days, you have $19,000. All you have to do is sit down and wait, watch the charts. It's easier than ever. So we're going to jump right into it. Alex is going to take it away with charts. Steve's going to talk about, we're finally getting some rate cuts too. As you guys know, I freaking love crypto. I love talking about this stuff. We got a great team here. We're dropping nothing with alpha. Only thing we ask in return is hit that like, comment, subscribe. Let's just jump right into it with you, Alex. Go ahead.
That's nice. So welcome. Bitcoin monthly. Still looking fine. We've got a bit of a slowdown here, but as outlined by my lovely orange dotted line here, we are above the 50% point of the previous month. And when you're above the 50% point, things are generally pretty good. If we were down here, be a bit sad, but we open the month, we've dropped like a stone, whoop, through back up. So great. It remains to be seen whether or not August is going to be bullish or bearish in itself, but our targets towards the end of the year are still, valid and fine. Like, this is all good. If we kept charging up here, like we said a few weeks ago, things would start to get a bit too frothy and overheated, and we probably wouldn't make it all the way to the end of the year. So, this is fine. We're still up. We've got a long way to go. We've got to get all the way below 105 before you could say the monthly chart is down. So from a monthly, things are still looking fine. Weekly, similar deal. We've broken up. We're just kind of going sideways. We're down, but we're not, all the way down here at 98. Below here, then you're starting to question kind of what's going on, because that's quite a significant low to have lost. Here, we're all fine. The thing that was tripping people up a little bit was something that we identified. Here's the 1 hour chart. We'll jump back to the daily. All the 60-day cycle shenanigans. This, that, and the other, counting things, da-da-da-da-da. Counting's hard sometimes, guys. We had here day 59, but then we had this. And so people were saying, well, is it day 59, or did we go all the way to sort of like a day, 76 or something high? Now, if you just say, no, it was 60 days and this is just, low, fake out, here we go, then now we're looking at the big low on the weekend that everyone kind of, we went from fear and greed 70 down to fear and greed 54. So that's a really nice reset of sentiment. We're hitting down a low at day 59. We've come up. I don't have the Bollinger Bands on here, but we've recaptured sort of the midpoint of them. We came down, retested it. So if you were to say, here's a 60-day cycle low, then that would tell us, well, we should expect a couple of weeks of up. Now, just because I personally am expecting a couple of weeks of up now, sort of to the 23rd of August, doesn't mean that August is going to be an up month overall, because we could see sort of that, if we bring back here, sort of a weekly cycle top, which would mean then we would get a 20% decline or some sort of pause for a month or two before we can finally finish up. And that would still give us time to get to October, still give us time to push further beyond that if we like. But I'm expecting some sort of positivity this August, followed by some sort of down or sideways. So depending on how high we go, if we're pushing all the way up into the 130s or something, and I'll bring this up in further shows, but should that materialize, I would start offloading, because I'm not too convinced that, if we're at $140,000, I'm not too convinced that the price is going to go up much more from there. Whereas if we're at 140, it'll probably come back down again 20 odd %. So I'd rather be out, and I can always get back in to catch the last little leg. But the main thing for today is everything's fine. So if people are getting a bit worried over the weekend, you've been looking at it, then that was totally normal, totally on the cards, because that was when a low was forming, especially around day 60. So things are sort of lining up to say we're still fine and good. Ethereum, we, knocking on $4,000, which is really great. And when Bitcoin dropped from 123,000 to 112, Ethereum held its value. So that's really good. Really good for Ethereum. We need to break out above this before it can really rock and roll. But should it fly up to here, that's another, probably, you'd expect Ethereum to outpace Bitcoin by 73% almost if it was to launch up all the way here. Now, that's over the remainder of the bull market, so don't get too excited just this second. But Ethereum's looking fabulous. So it really needs to break above the $4,000, and then it can go on its assault of all-time highs. So, watch this space. Solana's sort of been dicking around. It's still, it's broken out here, come back down, but it hasn't really had that outperformance that we might have wanted. So this was a line we drew, all the way back here in June. We're saying we really want to see something like this for us to be really, really, really back on Solana. We got a lower high, so that's not the greatest. So should we lose here, then you're probably just like, then 100% you'd rather just be in Bitcoin. So at the moment, it's kind of floundering a bit. We want to see some oomph. And like we were chatting about this before the show, should Ethereum really go hard, then all of the people behind Solana are going to have to pull out all the stops to force the price up, basically, because otherwise it'll just look terrible for them. So that's something that can work well in our favor. But yeah, look, total crypto market cap still making higher highs. It's come back down. It hasn't broken any support. This is a very logical spot for it to retest. So we should continue moving up. Bitcoin dominance, it's chilling out here, but still lower. So it might just be going sideways before falling down again. That would be great to see a drop further for all the alts and everything to go. But essentially, things are fine. Things are good, really. And we can look forward to higher prices as the year goes on. Because even though some people got a bit excited, like we kind of all felt it around here, oh, is this a top? But none of the indicators that would say we're in, overheated territory by end of bull market margin were tripping. So if that was the end of the bull market, honestly, I don't think anyone could be upset at themselves, because it's the equivalent of like a fucking piano falling out of the sky and hitting you as you're walking down the street. Like there was absolutely zero way you could have predicted that, because none of the indicators that would say get the fuck out were jumping out at us. So, it just seems business as usual, to be perfectly honest. Yeah.
Yeah, looking good. Looking good. Actually, before I even, because I'm gonna ramble and I'm gonna ask you for backup, Alex. But Steve, looking very Chad with the jawline over there, buddy. The gym and everything's paying off. Looking good. Why don't you just give us your take on the market in general, and then Powell has been clearly kicking the can down the road. It seems to me, in my opinion, he's playing politics. Even Janet Yellen today called for the Federal Reserve to cut rates. You're working day in and day out at a research firm. You're legitimately working in the TradFi world, and you're not managing pennies over there either with the team and the people you're working with. What does it look like from a bird's eye view? TradFi 2025 has been pretty wild. What do you think so far, buddy?
Yeah, generally speaking, we've been seeing the same fall off in jobs that we've been seeing for a while now. The big difference between now and before is that we're now getting to the point where we may be beginning to create, ultimately less jobs than we are getting rid of them. More fires, more quits, more people being laid off than there are being hired. Usually when that happens, or the rolling over of these labor figures actually occurs, the economy will enter into a full-blown recession, and at that point the Federal Reserve would be too late, even if they cut rates. Now, here's the key thing. We still are in a net positive for job creation. We still are in a net positive in terms of wage growth. We're still in a net positive in terms of spending. However, clearly all these numbers are coming down. From my view, and as I sort of see it, we're probably going to get rate cuts in September. If they don't act, then they'll have taken too long, and I will have to be formally bearish if we do get rate cuts in September. However, I will still remain bullish. I would still say that they're acting within time. However, For the immediate short term, though, I'm actually expecting a small, very small correction, probably August and September. Simply put, valuations on the S&P 500 and the Dow are getting very high relative to crappy jobs figures and relatively crappy economics figures, at least to prior quarters. So that's going to go ahead and probably hurt valuations, and we'll see them come in for those months. Now, that all being said, I still am expecting GDP growth to be positive. I'm still expecting jobs growth to ultimately be positive. I do think the Federal Reserve will cut rates in time, albeit at the last minute. So in the long horizon, I'm still bullish. Underpinning all of this is, most importantly, over 80% of companies on the S&P 500 have actually beat their earnings and have come up with positive earnings. That would actually technically be the best quarter that we've seen in the last 3 years. So TradFi is still doing very well. Companies are still earning money. Despite the tougher economic environment, I would say that's more of a tougher economic environment for small companies and medium-sized companies, whereas for the large companies of this world, we're still seeing huge earnings. They're still doing well. If those markets are going to do well, I would expect crypto to do well as a knock-on of that. So between rate cuts and strong earnings, in the big overall picture for 2025, I'm still ultimately bullish, and I would expect the market to end the year higher than where we are today.
I like it. So how many rate cuts do you think? What do you guys have on the research side?
Honestly, predicting an exact number of them right now with the Fed having so much mixed messaging is kind of difficult. I'm personally expecting a 25 basis point cut in September with probably another 25 basis point cut to follow in November. If the economic data is nasty, though, probably a 50 basis point cut in November to follow.
What if nothing in October? What about October 29th?
I believe that's just meeting. Those are just minutes. I don't think they make a decision in October.
You could be right. For some reason, October 29th is listed on Polymarket.
Oh, I could be wrong then.
No, I think you're right. I actually think you're right. Because I saw the minutes for last year as well. Are you guys, what does the research firm think about what we've have had this year so far? It was a pretty choppy year. Quarter two sucked dick.
Yeah, it did.
Quarter
They
two
really, really did.
sucked for everybody.
The firm actually said just to keep buying all the dips. No, the two heads of the firm kept saying buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. They actually consistently said no, we remain bullish, and the market's freaking out too much. I was actually more concerned than the firm was about the potential tariff impact. Reason being, we saw surging bond yields into a falling stock market. For normal reference, guys, when there's usually a stock panic, you have bond yields fall and then bond yields rise before the actual panic happens, and the bond yields rising beforehand is the sign of bad news. But to have bond yields surging while the market's already collapsing like 6% in a day, that was kind of terrifying. So I was actually more scared than the firm, but the firms remain consistently bullish.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. We, guys, I got to tell you, man, I know we give you a lot of information, but a lot of like hardcore crypto degens, and Alex is going to share something with us in a second here. A lot of crypto people have been just watching our channel, and I know it's a lot to digest, but I'm telling you, the fundamental analysis that I'm able to give you, the ETF breakdown I can give you, Steve, what he's doing, that's what he's doing, what Elias is doing with mining. And I know even like sometimes when Elias talks, it's like it can be mind numbing because he's just giving you like the most boring data. But if you're the kind of guy that loves that data, you could fall in love with that data and just analyze, because you have to look at the whole market in its entirety. And if you could pull that off, man, and you've been watching what we're saying, we've been giving a lot of good alpha, and I think we're going to have a good end of year. I personally tell everybody get out by I say, if it's after November 15th, like you're gambling, you're just gambling at this point. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, to make it a bit more fun, this is Peter Brandt's Bitcoin banana. So this is something that he's been talking about, bringing it up every 6 months or so. And now we're sort of getting to the tail end of the bull market. It's becoming highly relevant for us. So basically, the bottom red line is like a curve that's been drawn for the entirety of Bitcoin's price history from all of the bear market bottoms. And the top is the same thing, but now for the tops of all the bull markets. And then there's this intermediate curve that gets drawn, that he draws on each bull market. So everyone gets their own one. And the general gist is once we violate that deep in the 4-year cycle, we're finished. That's it. So you wouldn't be getting out at the top if you waited for it to break, but you'd be getting out pretty good. So the same thing here for this market does bring us, so we're getting sort of closer and closer. We haven't yet dropped down. This was from a couple of days ago where it was 113,000, but we're at a similar price. So essentially, once we lose this, that would be one indicator that we're looking out at. Now, the top of this range is topping out at sort of the 150 plus $1,000 level, but not much higher. So some people are out there saying, oh, maybe 200 plus $1,000, you know, we'll get an extended market into January or February, maybe even all the way to May. Because of ETFs now, it's more like TradFi, you know, sell and may go on way and all that sort of stuff. But this will be something that so far for the entirety of Bitcoin's price history has been a very reliable source of, you know, confirming a lagging indicator somewhat because you've got to wait for a break of it, but a very good confirmation for it. So he's also got things here. So this is a Renko chart. And basically what this does is a new bar is not drawn unless, so he's got 5%, unless the price difference is greater than 5% over that period of time. So this was the Q2 that we had this year that was not very fun for anyone. And so you can see it changes red and down we go. Now, over here, this is the last bear market, how it was just continuous, just vomit. And this was that intermediate sort of drop we had in the middle of the year in 2021. So basically, this is another indicator of once this flashes red, then it's either the end of a weekly cycle, like we see here, or it's the end of the market. And we can see we've had 1, 2, and so I'm expecting the third to be it. So some people say, well, it could come down and go for a fourth, but this is sort of more evidence that we're kind of getting a bit long in the tooth with the market. So a few more months, but I would highly, like John said, past November, like just take stock. Don't think it's going to go on forever. And you should be up enough that you can pull out at a really good price. A lot of people have been having this sort of this 140,000, 120 to 140,000 target. And I'm seeing that from different people doing different analysis over and over and over and over again. So that's why I'm treating that level as a sort of a key level in itself. Maybe we go higher, but I'm expecting we at least get into that zone, and that is probably a sensible place, depending on how close we are October, to start offloading. In terms of some fun price targets that people always like. So this is once again, you know, Ethereum, 1, 2, 3, fourth time through, they say. So, you know, the next time we break above 4, then off to the races. For Solana, if this is, you know, sort of a head and shoulders type thing that gets invalidated, because once again, a head and shoulders, we should just keep coming down, which would be sad times for Solana. But should we invalidate that by getting above 247, 368 is a reasonable target for us to look forward to.
Don't get my hopes up, please.
Yeah, fingers crossed. In the
Don't
last
get my
weekend,
hopes up, please.
in the last weekend, we had sort of this $1 billion at least, so more than $1 billion of longs that were liquidated by the exchanges. And Invest Answers and a few other people were really great in putting out information that showed that it was the exchanges that were really dumping the price hard. So it wasn't institutions, wasn't retail, it was the exchanges themselves that were sending these assets to other exchanges, other places, specifically to dump them, specifically so they could pick up, you know, a cool $1 billion over, you know, not bad for 48 hours of work. So we'll see more and more of that as we go through.
Shut up and take my money.
We have some things like BNB looking good, and you might sit here and be like, fuck, $1,200, BNB. But you're sitting here at like 755 and you realize that the percentage gain is not as dramatic as you might think. You're much better being, you know, in Ethereum, we saw it's going to outpace, if it flies up to the next big level of resistance, it'll outpace Bitcoin by about 73%. And if we're expecting Bitcoin to get to 140, which is about 21% from here, then that means Ethereum from here could do, you know, an 89% increase, which brings you all the way up to 6,800. And 90% increase is far more than what, you know, BNB could do. It's far more than what XRP could do should it break out. So this is like, you know, could be more goodness for XRP, but is it going to outpace at least Ethereum? And is it going to outpace, you know, pending a breakout for Solana? See, that's the thing. Solana's just not, it's kind of in the midway zone now. So if it was a choice between buying Solana or Ethereum today, you would be buying Ethereum. And if you wanted the absolute lowest risk of crypto, which kind of sounds a bit like an oxymoron, but the lowest risk, you know, you just go, I'll get some Bitcoin and I'll just enjoy a 21% return. And should we break below 100, I just fuck off, basically. So we can see. But these are some cool things that you might see from people. I love a good old, you know, just call it the Bitcoin banana. That's fun. So we'll bring this up later on in the market, later episodes, to see how we might be looking, especially if we drop below it in November. Because a few weeks ago we outlined sort of mid to late October as a rough end of market time, which means altcoins might get another month. But beyond that, and this is currently, so things will change as we get closer and closer to the date, of course. But beyond that, you know, you don't want to be too excited about, you know, Bitcoin's going to $1 million this cycle. So
it's beautiful. And then, like I said, we are, in my opinion, okay. So actually, before I'm going, let me address this. CC $6.99. Canadian super chat. Thanks so much, buddy. Looking chat-orific with the nice little cute lady on the beach there. He says entire panel called November 2024 as end of bull run over a year ago. Interesting. We are pretty consistent what we do. We talk a lot, guys. It's like we talk. We have weekly meetings. It's not a joke. We do it because honestly, we're just crazy. We all really just love this shit. We don't force anybody to be there. Really, we just really love this. And you know, hey, who doesn't love touching your keyboard and making a couple grand, right? Just all right, I'm rich. You know, one of our research guys, he's so funny. You know, Derek always says, Derek's like, the money is inside the computer. You just got to get it out. Like you just got to. That's all you do. The money's in the computer. Just got to get it out. It's so true because it's so accessible. Because you know, in the 80s, this would never be possible. Now you could degen trade on your fucking phone just at the push of a button if you want to. So we're gonna have a really data, like a very data dense section. What I'm going to talk about right now, because I'm going to give you guys my perspective. Because this is how, if you want to get good at cryptocurrency, this is how you do it. You have to consume good data. First of all, you need time, and then what ends up happening as momentum goes on, you have to be plugged into the very moment. Like what's hot now is not hot what was 6 months ago, okay? And once you're plugged in, you develop like this kind of intuition because crypto is a living, breathing organism. There's constantly factors coming in and out, and you're looking at presidential candidates, legal things, bills coming through, laws. You know, this is the first time the United States government has not been attacking crypto in the history of its governmency. And so that's always phenomenal. We are seeing gateways being crossed over from TradFi to crypto. It's getting to the point now that you're able to put down Bitcoin and Ethereum and certain cryptocurrencies down as collateral for loans and also collateral for mortgages in the United States of America, right? And so we are witnessing a lot. And so let me tell you exactly what I was predicting and then what exactly happened. So July 14th to 18th, okay? This was crypto week. Now you have to think of it. I'm just going to go big screen so I can just catch everybody's attention. Okay. So we had crypto week. Now you have to understand Donald Trump is president, right? And you guys know he's a big marketing guy, right? He's a great sales guy, and all good sales guys become marketers, right? So, you know, he wants to talk about one thing and one thing only, how awesome he is, right? And that's what he did with crypto week. So I knew when they had this crypto week coming up, and then remember the beginning of the year, they had that secret, you know, closed door meeting with all the crypto companies in America. I had an inkling that there was going to be some gigantic price action happening, and that's exactly what happened. And we called it beforehand if you were paying attention to the show, because we had some crazy price movement. So here's the number one thing you want to be paying attention to. In my opinion, the number one thing you want to be paying attention to in your hierarchy of things in crypto is Bitcoin. The general health of Bitcoin is number one, and a good frontline, very easy indicator to understand the health of Bitcoin is watching the Bitcoin ETF inflows. Okay. So leading up to this, the inflows were doing pretty well. Okay. We had the tariff scare in April where Bitcoin crashed down to like 75,000, but it shot back up to all-time highs right after that. Then we had the Israel and Iran situation when everybody thought it was the end of the world. Markets crashed again, but BlackRock was consistently buying through all of this. They were unwavering. They were buying or having zero. There were very few instances when they were selling. Okay. So Bitcoin has been showing some extreme health. All right. And there's been, incident after incident knocking it down, and it's bouncing right back up and recovering even more. Okay. The second part is looking at Bitcoin dominance. Okay. Now, Bitcoin dominance is out of all the money in crypto, what percentage of that money belongs to Bitcoin? And currently Bitcoin is floating around, I would say like about 2.2 trillion. Hold on, I can just tell you the market cap second. Yeah, 2.29 trillion. So almost $2.3 trillion. Okay. And I'm going to show you this chart real quick. So you can, it's all going to make sense here in a second. So you want to look at this Bitcoin dominance. Okay. So that's when all the money is just slowly but surely going into Bitcoin. As you can see here, during the tariff scare, March 26th, there was not a lot of anything going on. Everybody was safely putting their money into Bitcoin, right? Until we got up to here, May 7th. And that's when we had our first little mini alt season. And what happens is this, the people who bought Bitcoin here on March 26th, they were watching, and their price is going up. Bitcoin's going up in price. And then it gets to a point where they decide collectively, it might be institutions, whoever, but they want to sell their Bitcoin. And what they're typically going to do is they're going to sell their Bitcoin and they're going to buy Ethereum. They're going to buy Solana. They're going to buy cheaper tokens that they can move the price more, including meme tokens. So that's when you see alt season. So right here, 65% down to 62%. That's just a 3% drop. But during this time, there are some record-breaking numbers happening with memes, right? And then if you take a look at here, we have a really big one here. Okay. But I'm going to really go back real quick. In November, this is when Trump won. And this is when there was straight up meme coin degeneracy, heading all the way, bleeding into December as well. We had a gigantic drop. So we had a 61% down to 55%. So 6% of the entire market cap of Bitcoin was taken and put into either cashed out or getting into other altcoins. So if you just do back your napkin math, 6% of 2 trillion. I can't do that off the top of my head. I don't know if either of you guys can, but that's a lot of fucking money. Okay. And so that being said, you saw a tremendous amount of coins going into large numbers with that, the altcoins, right? So the Bitcoin deflates, and what that causes is altcoins inflate. So starting here, you can see around July 6th, you can see that this started to happen, right? But really, July 14th was the beginning of crypto week, and you could see it just started dumping dumped into the weekend too. Now, during this time too, Ethereum went up in price. In July, Ethereum was floating around like 2,200, 2,400. And give me a second, I'll get your precise number right here in the chat. Looks like low. I'm just going to give you some real, 2,500 just for simplicity. Probably lower, but I'll just say 2,500, right? And then it peaked up to 3,800 in only 13 days, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So if you were just watching Bitcoin, like me and the research team were doing, watching Bitcoin dominance and then watching it bleed down and then watching certain alts bleed up, that's how you make money in this market. So Bitcoin needs to build up in strength so the bubble can pop and the money trickles down into the alts. It's not going to go to every alt, but you want to be scouring the Met for reactive alts. And that's some things that I'm going to show you guys next. So real quick, I want to show you something related to the ETFs. This is why it's also super important. So looking at the ETFs, we're going to quickly just show you, because we're talking about altcoins. This is Ethereum, okay? So as you can see here, this is the 14th. This is the beginning of crypto week. As you can see, this is the history of the ETF is too. Really not that great. Not looking so hot whatsoever here, okay? One of the bigger days at the time was like a $236 million day. But the beginning of crypto week, we had 200 million just on Ethereum, another 200 million, another 200 million, and then this day right here, 670 million, and then this day, $563 million. And then the following week, we had some, multiple billion-dollar weeks as well. You could see here, like, the numbers are just insane. We currently have 20 billion in on-chain holding, and that's because a lot of the legislation that was passed was centralized around DeFi. Okay, and then you could see that based upon what I have here in Kaito as well. It's all connected. So this is an aggregate of the top cryptocurrencies being spoken about. And so if I just do the 7-day average or even the 30-day average here, well, it looks like it's not happening anymore, but during crypto week, Ethereum was number one, and it was up number one for a while. Looks like right now it's kind of neck and neck, but before the gap was a lot larger. But what they definitely have a gigantic lead on is the narrative. So this is what everybody's talking about: AI and now DeFi. And DeFi is related to what happened with crypto, with Ethereum, and all the stable coins that they're issuing, everything that they've been talking about regarding to the new legislation, onboarding TradFi assets in a crypto-like fashion so you can trade between the two. That's all going to be done on Ethereum and the Ethereum blockchain. That's going to be massive usage of layer twos. And we're seeing that in some things already, which I'm going to be talking about here in a second, right? So that being said, with the coins being the DeFi being shown as number two, AI is number one. And then now we're kind of looking at a position now where the Bitcoin is down, Ethereum is down, Solana is down, but total crypto market cap is pushing right at all-time highs. That's extremely fucking bullish. Would you guys agree that? Would you say that's pretty bullish, or what would you say?
Absolutely. Yeah. More and more money's coming in. We've got the stable coins coming in. We've got pretty much all of the top 100 down, but the total market's up. So
yes, yeah. So what I think is going to happen right now, there were supposed to be rate cuts. President Trump is like furious with Joe and Powell. But the longer we kick this can down the road, there's a pressure pot that's building up in Q4 for the crypto market. And historically speaking, in case you guys don't know, November, October, and December are some of the best years, or best months, excuse me, for cryptocurrency. Before I pull it up in the chat, does anybody know the most profitable one in the chat? Type it in right there. Let me pull this up. What is the most profitable month? I would like to know if anybody knows that before I pull it up here. Okay. And we are going to get it going. Okay, I have the information right in front of me. Let's see if anybody answered that real quick. Nobody answered it. Okay, well, then in that case, the answer is November. Oh, Anthony Dumola, the buzzer beater in the fourth quarter. Swish, he got it. November, absolutely. And it's by a gigantic margin, too. Take a look here real quick, chat. So as you can see, the average here, November, is 46% on the gains. We had an amazing November last year. This was only second to February of last year because this is when the ETFs really started picking up, and February was pretty crazy. But then November was wild. November was a wild time in crypto. For if you packed your bags right, you bet on Trump winning, because that was it. You know, as you can see historically too, 2020 or 2017 was the one they said that 2025 is mimicking. October was 47%, November was 43%, and the all-time high was in 2017 in December at 38%. So historically, August has been pretty bad, except for the years after the bull run. So you could see, or after the halving, excuse me. So the halving was here, and then we had a good one here. The halving was here, and then they had an amazing, the best month of 2017 was August, 65%. So as you can see, the steam is being built right now. I predict August is probably going to be maybe slightly positive, nothing extraordinary. September probably going to be dog shit, but at the end of September, we get the rate cuts, because like Steve was saying, we're going to get rate cuts, probably 25 basis points. It would be wonderful if we got 50 basis points. President Trump recommended 3. I'm okay with that too, personally, just as a YouTuber. I think that's a good strategy, personally, just throwing it out there. I don't know how much that weighs on economic policy, the YouTuber's opinion. But what do you, Steve, probably like what, 25 basis points, if anything?
I'm hoping for 25 basis points in September. I'm hoping Powell doesn't let us down again.
Right. And like,
you know, I mean, technically speaking, inflation did rise, and they talked about tariffs in a couple of their past meetings. I just think the fall off in jobs is so much more pressing that they almost have to cut in September.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a chance they don't. There's a chance they don't, but based on their past decision making, if you also look at last July and last August, very similar situation. We had slightly rising inflation, but quickly lowering jobs. So they chose to cut in September. Same sort of situation here in 2025.
Yeah. It seems to me they're running the same playbook in 2024. Because I hear people talk about Q1's going to be amazing. Q1's going to be amazing. Yeah, it's going to be amazing for you dickheads. I'm not fucking playing with anything in Q1 this time around. All right, I'm fucking out. I'm shutting off the channel. I'm shutting down the show on fucking December 31st. But you know, it's looking like we're going to at least probably get 2 cuts. Obviously, nobody knows, but the way things economically are going. Plus, Steve, remember the jobs number lady was fired because she was botching the numbers. You know, so we're seeing some things. Mike Hart's got a good question, which we're going to touch on next. As AI is number 1, could AI meme coins be a good play? Correct. And then that's what. So a lot of people don't remember the first AI meme coin was GOAT, right? And then the second one was Fartcoin. And Fartcoin went from 2 cents to $2.6 billion. You know? Just, I mean, yeah. And then so now, there's a couple things I want to talk about. So let's talk about what's been happening lately and how to make money in regards to alt season. Is August the final dip? I think August and September, it's going to be kind of chill. And I think October, November is going to be crazy. December, like I said, if you're in after November 15th, my opinion, you're just gambling. You're gambling, and gamblers lose, you know? So just trust Uncle MLD, or do whatever the fuck you want. But if you make a lot of money, it's because of me. And if you lose it, it's not because of me. Okay. So, a couple things I want to show you guys. So the things you want to be looking for right now, the number one thing you want to be looking for is reactivity. And reactivity is when a cryptocurrency, when the markets go down, it goes down with it. When the markets go up, it also goes up with it, right? Having good levels of volatility, reactivity is a sign of a healthy cryptocurrency, in my opinion. I'm going to show you guys a couple of opportunities that happened recently, okay? The first one is a coin called Troll. This is a meme coin, okay? And you guys know meme coins are dangerous, but I'm just hear me out, okay? So Troll was born on April 22nd, 2025, okay? And you had to have a pretty large amount of patience for this, because this was about 1 cent to 2 cent, looks like it peaked at a 3-cent all-time high, and then it just pulled back, and it was ranging between 1 cent to 2 cents for quite some time. And it started to have a breakthrough on this date right here, July 26. So real quick, we're just going to go back to Bitcoin dominance and take a look at the chart and show you what exactly was happening, because that was right at the tail end of the whole Bitcoin dominance coming undone. And it's right here in this second little cascade here. So July 24th, remember, this is all the profits from Bitcoin dominance. It shot back up, but even with Bitcoin dominance only follows a few percentages, even 2% or 1%. That's a lot of money, because again, it's 1% of $2 trillion. So don't underestimate that. And it started falling down, and Troll has gone on an absolute rampage. Okay, because like I said, price activity started around here. It went from 2 cents. So everything started. So let's just start at the lowest. Okay, let's just say the 26th of July. It was basically a penny and a half, right? And it has been on a violent, consistent melt up, especially here, going super ham and peaking at just shy of 20 cents. So you're looking at about a 19x, give or take, in just a matter of 10 days. So that's first little opportunity of money ring rate right there, right? There are a lot of coins happening right now in this downtime. Now, here's something really important you guys got to pay attention to. Pump.fun and Bonk.fun are two places where you can make meme coins. And Bonk is, officially sponsored by Solana, because Bonk is the official meme coin of the Solana chain. Pump.fun is independently owned. It's like a Jewish guy that owns it from New York. And Pump.fun right now is having a lot of bad publicity because a lot of their coins are notoriously scams. They've given black eye to Solana to a degree. Memes no longer have a good name, especially after Trump launched his meme. He kind of killed meme credibility. But you have to look for these little underlying memes and these little meme wars that are going on. Now I want to show you something that is like peak Bitcoin, peak bull market, peak insanity. But it's so funny because it is crypto after all. The name of this coin is Useless. It's called the Useless coin. And I'm just going to show you the website. Okay, but this is why this is a good meme coin, because you could tell that they're taking it seriously. They say, welcome to Useless Coin, the world's first cryptocurrency that promises nothing and delivers exactly that. Zero purpose, 100% used, the world's most honest cryptocurrency, right? You can click here to learn nothing. This is their roadmap. It's all satire. It's all a joke, except for the market cap. Because I'm going to show you this too. So this is taking a look here. Let's look at Useless. So Useless came alive on June 16th at 6 cents. Okay. So it went from 6 cents on June 16th to an all-time high of 41 cents. Like right around here. So basically a month and 2 weeks. So 6 weeks. You have another gigantic opportunity to make some money from 6 cents to 41 cents, almost a 7x. Okay. And again, that also correlates with the Bitcoin dropping, the Bitcoin dominance dropping, the activity with crypto week going up, and just overall activity of crypto going up. Another opportunity when you just see these smaller coins and their smaller market caps. And there's one more thing I want to show you guys here. So when you're looking for alt season, these are some of the reliable things. And this is related to what Mike Harton has said in the chat as well. The Useless chart is just insane. The troll chart. This is the troll chart here on Deck Screener, just like insanity. And just so you guys know, when you are looking at these, like $177 million market cap, right? The gold standard for meme coins is when they get to 1 billion. They get to 1 billion, they typically sputter out. 2 billion, they really sputter out hard. If it goes past 2 billion, you have like a primo meme coin. Stuff like Whiff did that. Stuff like Popcat did that. Stuff like Fartcoin did that. SPX 6900 also did that. So those are like more really beefy memes. But 1 billion is the line in the sand. So Mark Harton here wrote something: is AI is number one. Could AI meme coins be a good play? There's another thing. There's even better version. Okay, there's now AI utilities coming out, AI utility coins, and the last thing we're going to talk about is Mamo, Mamo. Okay, now Mamo is a very interesting coin our research team found, and here's what we're going to talk about real quick. So first and foremost, sorry to tell you guys, it was a research coin, research team privy. We didn't know if this was going to happen, but it did happen. And it was actually listed on Coinbase today. The research team had done enough work to realize that Mamo was launched in May, okay? And it was launched by a former head of developers at Coinbase, and he helped create a project that made $1 billion in revenue. They just launched Mamo, and he's consistently talking about how he did $1 billion, he did $1 billion, he did $1 billion. If you look at their X, Mamo, M-A-M-O, they have a mascot. They have some 3D imaging done of this mascot. It looks like they're taking it seriously. And Brian Armstrong, who is the CEO, president of Coinbase, actually spoke about it during an interview. And they just launched it, and it was now available on Coinbase today. It is on Base Chain. So if you guys know, Base Chain is in layer 2, built on Ethereum for Coinbase. And that's also bullish too, because it's related to all the legislation that passed. Everything that's going to be building is on Ethereum. So you're going to need to buy Ethereum to do it and build these things. And you can see with the price action, Mamo has been hyper reactive to Ethereum positive price action. So here's the play now for the end of the year. If you could take a look real quick, I'll show you guys this. And you can see this is just, so we'll just even show you today. This is today's activity. It spiked up to almost 23 cents. But if you just go back 7 days, and it was down at 10 cents 6 days ago. So that's another quick I mean, hell, you could have scooped it at 9 cents really on the 31st, about 7 days ago. And then you're looking at, like I said, more than a 2x in a matter of a couple of days. And the reason is that was a fundamental analysis. We saw that the former head of the Coinbase developers was talking about it. The official Coinbase developers X was retweeting them. And if you know anything about these big corporations, they have like teams of lawyers that are like, okay, what you can do and what you can't do. So the fact that they're greenlighting this guy, now they're getting listed on Coinbase today. It seems to me that, because also we did some research on the tokens, the team's tokens unlock on November 25th. The most profitable month in crypto, if you do your data. So no shit, looks like they're going to try and cash out in November, because everybody know who's in crypto. Q4 is the big finale is coming. Anybody says we're going to go into Q1, I personally don't believe them. I would be wrong. I was wrong about a lot this year. You guys publicly saw my meltdown when I thought the bull market was over in fucking Q2. So, you know, it is what it is. But personally, I think it's just a little bit too, it's a little too much longer. Luke Skywalker says all of Base is bullish. Circle belongs to Base. Wow, I did not know that. Support from Trump admin. Circle belongs to Base? No, I don't think so. Circle's a separate company. They're the ones that issue USDC. No, we're getting a super cycle. Go ahead. So anyways, yeah. Troll completed 12 days up. That's a big run. Could continue, but the odds are it needs to rest or drop to absorb sell pressure. Don't chase. Yeah, definitely not chasing, but Troll could be $1 billion. And the thing is, it's because here's the thing. You guys got to read in between the lines when it comes to cryptocurrency. I wanted to show you something. So Pump.fund just posted this on their X yesterday. As you can see, I'm not a Pump.fund fan. I have them blocked. But their banner was this. So those are all tokens. And all those tokens pumped when Pump.fund changes. And the reason why is because they are having a civil war with Bonk.fund. And Bonk Fund did like $100 billion in volume a couple days ago. So that right there is, there's competition within the Solana ecosystem. So there's opportunity to make money, but you got to have an exit strategy. You got to have a strategy. And you gotta use math, and you gotta have there's gotta be good reason. You just can't throw something and think you're gonna make money. But we're giving you guys super fucking alpha here. Anything else in closing, guys?
Nothing we haven't already said. Bull market's still on. We'll see.
We're on. This
There
is
we
like.
go.
Go ahead.
It's it's the final. Like I was saying a few weeks ago, it's the last. This is like the most exciting scene in Shrek 2, where they're storming the castle while the fairy godmother's singing "I Need a Hero." Like, it's just like, well, everything's happening. Everything's happening. It's just in my head every time I think about where we're at currently.
I love it.
It's a battle. But we're getting to like the big. Yeah, this is the finale.
And the rate cut timing will also be there for the exact timing that crypto usually has its best months. I'll also tack on as a small addition, historically, the stock market as well has its yearly worst months are August and September. So same exact kind of timing. Yep, and September is historically the stock market's worst month.
Interesting. That makes a lot of sense. And honestly, the way the current presidencies, the Trump administration, have been operating, they have literally done the most to make a bridge between TradFi and crypto for the first time ever. So we need that boom. We need that boomer money. So fuck me, my knee. sorry guys. I just hit my knee on my desk. But yeah, I'm optimistic for Q4. I think that one thing, okay, and this is full on X-Files, guys, okay, but this is just me. So in July, Ethereum finally got its shit together and woke up thanks to the ETFs, right? And all of a sudden, Ripple wants to wake up after its fucking 8-year dormancy. And then Solana breaks 200 out of nowhere. And then when Solana starts pumping, CZ starts scamming and wanting BNB to overtake Solana because he wants to be in that top 5. And so Ethereum moving organically due to the legislation and everybody buying him through BlackRock, right? Because that was billions and billions and billions have been secretly pouring into Ethereum since May. A lot of people aren't realizing this, but billions have been poured in for May, June, and July. People knew what was happening. There's insider information for sure. It's all fake and gay. Everything on politics, it's all show. It's all bullshit. They all have insider information. They're all colluding to make money. Mm-hmm. So looking at the ETFs, it's a good predictor of what's going to happen. And here we are. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think the ETF inflow is going to continue. I think the narrative is going to continue. And I think Ethereum is finally going to go back to all-time highs. I don't think it's going to do anything crazy. It'll probably eke above 5K and then just die. But that is going to cause Solana, and because Solana is a controlled entity, they're going to have to go to all-time high. And then Ripple's going to have to go to all-time high. And then fucking Cardano is going to try to go to all-time high. And then BNB. Everything is being set for Q4, in my opinion. So that being said, if you're playing the game, you're watching us, you're paying attention, this is your last chance. So if you want to sober up, if you want to stop drinking, stop smoking, stop whatever, stop fucking off, whatever bullshit you're doing, and really lock in, I'm telling you, because we are making allocations and locking in before crypto week to hold until the end of November. So think about
been allocated since December 2023.
There you go.
To be honest,
22 for something. Yeah. Year down, boom.
Me and Elias were the first members of the research team in 2022 when we came together after we were pissed about fucking up the last bull run. We're like, how do we not do this again? Yeah. But here we are. So that's some alpha we gave you guys. We're going to continue bringing the show to you. We're going to be here till the end of the year. coming into quarter one, we'll see. We'll be monitoring the market. We'll see if the guys want to continue to do the show. I'll be paying attention, but the altcoin season, if you want it to happen, you got to be paying attention to Bitcoin dominance. Here's the thing. We had a phenomenal July. At one point, we were up like 19%, but we retraced at the end. And it was like, came out to be like a plus 8%. But July was crazy. So that being said, we need some time to cool off. And the fact is, we're not even dumping that hard. We're consolidating for a lot of assets right now, from what I've been looking at, at least. You know, Steve, what's going on in the markets? Did they have a gnarly July and now you guys are kind of chilling out?
Same. Yep. July saw a ton of growth. We even had some all-time highs in the S&P 500, and markets may be down 1.5% for August. So, yeah, same dealio, just more muted numbers.
So I think I'm going to give my perspective. I think it's similar to Steve. I think August, September, not going to be too phenomenal. Maybe like as September 15th, when people start realizing, oh yeah, we're going to get rate cuts, it'll start, the insider money will start going in, the smart money will start going in. And then as it continues to like go, then I think once the rate cut happens, then we boom, and then quarter four, and then the crypto mania begins, you know. So the Clarity Act also coming end of the year. So yeah, Palantir, Nvidia, all-time highs, crazy stuff. So all right, boys. Well, listen, it was good. It was a good show. Appreciate you guys for being here, dropping that alpha for you for free every week. You know where to find us. I love you all. I love this show. Talk to you soon. Peace out.